Hello everyone, we're here from Straight from the Paws. Today I have a very special guest with me. She is Corinne Bowman. She is one of our Fall River Animal Control officers.
Hello.
Hi Corinne, it's good to have you here. Took me a while to get her here, but she's here. So we're going to find out a little bit more about Fall River Animal Control. And let's start with your background. Where did you start working just with animals in general?
I started when I was 19. I started at the Animal Rescue League before it was even the Faxon Animal Rescue League.
Wow, okay, a long time ago.
Yeah, when it was the little brown building with the cat house in the back. And I was there for 12 years, right through when they remodeled, they put the new building. And then from there, I went to Pet Partners, which is a spay-neuter clinic. Yep, Dr. Gerke. My husband still works there.
Your husband, Dan, still works there, yes?
Dan still works there. And I was there for 10 years. And then after that was Animal Control.
Animal Control, okay, so how many years on Animal Control?
5.
5 years.
5 years.
Wow, does it seem, it's time flies, as they say, time flies. I've known Corinne since she was at Pet Partners and then Animal Control. And so we see her smiling face at Forever Paws a lot. She brings us a lot of interesting cases, and we appreciate that. Sometimes, not all the time.
Sometimes it's obnoxious.
Yeah, sometimes, but that's the land of the law. So why did you end up going into animal control?
I think I just wanted to be more involved.
Okay.
I mean, working at the spay-neuter clinic was wonderful, but it was very the same thing every day.
Right.
So it was hard. Working with your husband can be hard.
That's true. Yeah, that's true.
But I think a lot of it was just getting kind of back to the roots of it, like back to the nitty-gritty and being there to help that one animal.
Right.
Because it matters to that one, even though there's a lot of others.
Right.
You can only deal with what's in front of you, and I don't know, it feels good.
That's good, and you've done a good job. You and Cindy, and you have a third person now. I know people have changed. Kate. You have Kate. She just left and had a baby, and she's back.
She's back.
She's back. So we have 3 women now, and you have a part-time sometimes.
Per diem person.
Okay, so it's a small group, so you have to work. It's very difficult. So just on a typical week, how many hours will you work?
Definitely 40.
Definitely 40. Okay.
And then sometimes, I don't know. Sometimes you can be there an hour late. Sometimes, I work alone on Sundays. Might kind of work through lunch and take it when I can. If you're on call, you can get called out anytime between 4 and the next morning.
4 at night?
Between
from 4 p.m.?
Yeah, whoever's on call now, once I'm off at 4, if there's an emergency, they could get called out from any time between 4 and 8 o'clock the next morning.
Okay. So let's talk a little bit about, our Fall River residents, because I know sometimes we get a call at the shelter and saying, animal control's not picking up, don't they work, when do they work? So I know, and I'm not being negative, I'm just saying, just to let our audience know that, and I've done this before with Cindy, but how do people get in touch with you, and when are people on? And there's only 3 of you and 1 per diem. How does that work?
So we are on 7 days a week between 8 o'clock in the morning and 4 o'clock. Okay. There is always somebody on during those hours. We're only in the office for a short time before we're on the road. We're in the city. We're doing patrols for complaints that come in on the regular basis. If you're in the office and taking messages, if we get a loose dog complaint or check the welfare complaint, that person's out responding to those calls. So if you leave a message at the office, we check that message within an hour, sometimes even more often, depending on what we're doing. And if it's an emergency, you call the police department and they'll dispatch us out.
Okay, so let me get this clear for the audience.
Yep.
You can leave a message, and within an hour, hopefully, unless you're having an emergency going out there, it will be taken care of. So, folks, leave the message. Don't say they're not picking up. You can't be calling every 10 minutes and expect them to pick up. You give them an hour and a half, let's say, giving some leeway, and if it is an emergency, then you call Fall River.
Call them right away. Call the police department right away. We'll get out there.
Okay,
Definitely.
and that's important, because I know that we get the phone calls, they say, oh, you have forever, forever animals, have they picked up little Snoopy, and they start giving descriptions, and we're like, no, but my neighbor saw them pick it up. Okay, well, maybe they haven't got to us yet, maybe they're on another call. It takes a lot of time, and people don't quite understand that, and I understand that, because being an animal lover, if my Lola got lost, I'd want to know where she was immediately, and I'd be hysterical. So I understand it, but we also have to understand what animal control does. And animal control, it's one person out there 8 to 4 and checking in the office, so that's a lot to cover in one day. And we've got a big city.
Yep.
And if you're out there working with the police, like I saw you on TV recently, a while ago, you were on television following a police officer around, and
it takes more time.
It takes a lot more time. So I think that the audience needs to understand that, because I think sometimes we get, very upset, and rightfully so. I get that.
Yeah, they're looking at the problem in front of them, and it's breaking their heart that they have to watch an animal possibly suffer, or they're in that emotional state where they might be angry at something, and they want us to be there to help them.
Right.
So I do understand it. Some people will call, and they're like, I called 3 times, but no, why aren't you guys picking up?
Right.
Like, did you leave a message? Well, no, I didn't leave a message.
That's the key.
You have to leave a message.
You leave a message, and let's not forget to leave your phone number, because it's important. It's really important. And I think in the animal world, we tend to get a lot of phone calls like that. At the shelter, as well as at animal control. And I think we all try to do our best. That's why you're doing your job.
Yes.
You decided to go into this because you wanted to make a difference, and you are making a difference. But sometimes we deal with our heart and not with our head, and that makes a big difference for people.
It's really hard. Yep.
I get that. So let's talk a little bit about what kind of training did you have to get onto the job?
Well, a lot of training just in the shelter field, handling cats and dogs. Some of them were nice, some of them were not.
Yeah.
When I worked at Faxon, we were all trained to assist the vet. So we kind of have some vet tech skills under our belt with restraining. I was the manager at Faxon for a while, and the other thing we did was like behavior modification, obedience training, and even though a lot of that works once you get your hands on the animal, you also learn to read all the body language. Right. So if it's aggressive, if it's submissive, if kind of what you're dealing with. Okay. And kind of the same thing at Pet Partners, a lot of the restraining. Okay. But the animals generally aren't always left at the shelter because they're perfect. So we're dealing with some of the unruly ones, and we're trying to get them, beyond that so that they're adoptable.
Okay, so let's move on from that, and let's talk a little bit about when you're out there in the field in animal control right now. Tell me one of the more difficult stories that you have.
5 years of stories.
I know. It's a long time.
One of the most difficult ones. There's so many different ones. Probably some of the cases that I feel are a little more difficult are when you're dealing with somebody that also has mental illness with an animal. They might, as far as like just having them see what's going on. I think that's part of it, and it varies greatly. But it's hard when you have somebody who might think they're doing the best they can for that animal, but might be mistreating it in the long run. But that animal is their life.
Right.
So it's just trying to get the human element and also look at the animal and what that relationship is. But I think that might be one that I always find a little bit tough.
Yeah, that makes sense. And that reminds me of several years ago, there was a woman that was homeless and had one of her big dogs. I think it might have been a golden or some sort, but it was a big dog. And I remember people calling up and saying, she's got the dog and she's homeless, how can you let her have her? And I remember that was really a mental health issue as well.
Yes.
And that was her lifeline.
Yeah.
And you people did help her with that dog.
Yeah.
You provided food, and I know when I'd go by, I'd try to give her a bag of food, for the dog and something for her. And I know that the police department will say, you got to watch out for the panhandlers, but in that case, your heart was breaking because she had the dog, but the dog did not want to leave her.
No, they love their owners.
They do.
They definitely love their owners. And you just got to look at the animal, look at their condition, you know, and it's really hard. I mean, right. They love their owners and they don't want to leave them.
They don't want to leave that person.
They don't want to leave that person.
No. I mean, you can hear stories and see stories on Facebook where, you know, a dog knows that the person went into the hospital and they wait at the door for their master.
Yep.
And their mother or father. So that's a tough one.
That's
a tough one.
Those are probably the ones I have. I mean, the cut and dry ones are easy. You go in and do what you got to do.
Excuse me.
But when it's mental illness, I think I have a little bit more of a hard time with that one. Those are the more difficult cases for me.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about, I know that in the city we say, everybody we know, all the pits get a bad rap. You know,
yeah.
They get a pretty bad rap, and right now at the shelter we have like we were down to 2, and now we're up to like 16 pits again.
Yep.
And how do you feel with, you know, dealing with the pits in the city?
Me personally?
Yeah.
I think they're fine. I know that every owner needs to know what they have in a dog, whether it's a pit bull, a Rottweiler, a Chihuahua, it doesn't matter, a Cocker Spaniel. If you have a dog that's aggressive with other dogs, you need to take those precautions, keep that dog on a leash. Right. You know, if it's highly aggressive, maybe a muzzle or a gentle lead that controls the head a little bit more. But as long as the owner's responsible and realizes what they have, you're fine. But me handling the pit bulls, I've never had a problem with them.
Never had a problem?
No, I mean, if I've known that they were, I mean, obviously there's some aggressive, we have rabies poles and stuff for a reason. You take those precautions, but to say that there was a loose pit bull that I grabbed and put into my vehicle, usually they just hop right in.
Wow, that's fantastic.
Yeah, or I'm able to just get them with the leash and they go right in. Very rarely do I have to use a pole to move a dog unless it's highly aggressive.
Wow. All right, so let's talk about some of the different animals that you've picked up in the city.
Oh, different. Anything from a loose house bunny to a raccoon that
Really?
found its way into inappropriate places. Possums, which I really don't mind the possum calls because they're actually very easy to kind of get in the net
Right.
or into the cage. I picked up a large land tortoise before.
Really?
Yeah, a really big one. A parrot on Whipple Street.
Jeez.
Hawks on 24. Just
Wow.
yeah.
Now, what about the old story, the cat up in the tree? Does that happen?
Yes.
It does?
Oh my God.
Oh, wow, really?
So it definitely happens with a couple cats here in the city, and it's all, you know, oh, the cat will come down. But my personal story with my own cat, I have a black cat that's about 20 pounds, and he went missing for 4 days.
Oh, boy.
So I had a little of an issue there.
Yeah.
So I started calling, you know, the animal shelters, and when I did call my local animal shelter, which always call your local animal shelter animal control officer, they said, oh, my friend's dog chased a black cat up the street and it's been up there for 4 days. Up a tree, I'm sorry. And it's been there for 4 days. He went 40 feet up a tree.
Wow. 40 feet up a tree.
40 feet up a tree. I was unable to climb it because I lacked those skills and there wasn't a lot of branches. It was a very willowy tree. I ended up hiring a tree guy to go up and get him because he was up there for so long.
You personally hired?
I personally hired a tree guy to go up there.
Wow. And he was okay to come down with the guy?
The guy climbed up there like a little monkey and put him in a soft-sided carrier and lowered him down to me.
Oh, that's a great story. So we can't like rely on, I'm just asking, you know, you see on television, they rely on the fire department. Can you do that?
I don't think so. I mean, you can always ask.
For sure. Okay.
The worst they're going to say is no.
Right.
But there are teams out there. I think the Boston ARL, they have a service that goes out and removes cats from trees. I did wait 4 days, and then I was like, yeah, I can't lose another. I can't not sleep again tonight.
Right. Yeah. Those are sleepless nights and worry and stuff.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I mean, definitely, if you're looking at the cat and he's slowly coming down, you can put food down.
Sure.
You know, go through all the motions. You know, and the cat usually will start to work its way down. then you know he has away. Once they figure out how to back down,
Sure.
they're fine.
But that doesn't always happen.
That does not always happen when a shepherd chases your 20-pound cat up a tree.
Wow. Wow, that's an interesting story.
Yeah.
I'm pretty impressed with that one. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about hoarding cases in Fall River.
Yes.
We do have them, correct?
We do have hoarding cases, yes,
Okay.
we do.
So just, you don't have to be specifics, but like one hoarding case you've been on, like how many animals and in how deplorable conditions?
Very deplorable. One case obviously that I was called out to, we had to go in full suits with breathing apparatuses.
Wow, okay, that's pretty heavy duty.
That's heavy duty. There was so much stuff in the home that I had to walk on top of the garbage and hold onto the ceiling.
Really?
And I knew I was in the dining room because I ended up standing on the table.
Wow.
And but the reason why animal control was called in was because there were cages with cats in them, and the layers of newspapers were so high that there was only a small amount of room for the animals in them. And there was, I don't remember exactly how many animals were in the house, but there were also additional animals outside. So we obviously removed those animals from the home, and then we trapped and spay and neutered all the ferals that were outside after.
So you were able to save the animals? They
Yeah.
were able to go out and be adopted to somebody else?
Well, they were wild.
I know the ferals were wild. What about the ones in the house?
The ones that were friendly, I believe they were placed up for adoption. We also did it with another organization.
Good.
We had gone in there, but Cindy did a ton of the trapping. She did most of the AM trappings.
Wow.
Herself, actually. So
So that is true. Now, was that in a single family home?
yes.
Okay. So we do have some in tenement apartments, correct?
Yes.
So if your neighbors are aware of that, there's got to be an odor, there's got to be something. What would you
Sometimes.
advise neighbors to do?
First, to call us, and we can just go out and do a welfare check.
Okay.
We can just go check, talk to the animals, talk to the people about the animal situation if they'll let us in.
Okay.
Some people
They won't let
they
you in.
won't let you in.
Right.
You can always call the Board of Health about any odors that you're smelling that are not appropriate.
Right.
And then we just kind of go from there and try to get into the apartment.
I think it's important for our audience to know that you need to be proactive. It's
Yes.
okay to say, well, I don't want to get involved. You don't have to give your number. Yes, they have caller ID,
Yeah.
but if you don't want your name given, they're not going to give your name.
No,
They're just going to just go in and help the animal, and you may be helping the person too. They may be just so overwhelmed with what's happened in their lives
Exactly.
that they can no longer function.
Yeah, it's
know.
always, I always say, even with my own home, I don't have a crazy amount of animals, but I do a lot of the cleaning, not all of it, but a lot of the cleaning with the animals. And if something happened to me,
Right.
it wouldn't take long before the litter box is overflowing and the
Right.
yard has a lot of feces
Right,
in it,
yeah.
or
Sure.
the eggs are piling up in the coop.
Sure.
It wouldn't take many days before it became gross.
Yeah.
So.
And that's important. I think people need to understand that. I mean, I know personally, I have a former colleague that I worked with, and lost her husband last spring and is in severe depression, and we can't get her out of the house. She just refuses to leave her house, and she doesn't have animals, but
She needs a dog.
She had a dog years ago, and I say to her, you've got to move out. You've got to do something. And I call every couple of weeks. So she has family. She has 2 daughters, but. I can see that, I knew she had some depression in her life, but I didn't realize now how severe it has become. And I can see that you give up, and she's a professional woman, and she just gave up on it, and she's just like, well, I'm just going to stay here and let the house fall apart around me. And I'm like, you can't do that, but that does happen. And she lives in the country, so she doesn't live with close neighbors, so it could be something that she could just be there, and her family's getting tired of trying to get her to do the right thing. So that's difficult. It is very, very difficult.
And if you throw an animal in the mix, now they're doing the best they can for that animal, but if they're starting to run out of food, if they're starting to run out of time, or they're like, well, I'll just get to it tomorrow, and then tomorrow ends up being a week.
Exactly.
Same thing kind of happens where maybe they're like, well, it has food even though the litter box is dirty.
Right. Exactly. So. And that is a big issue. That is a big issue. Let's talk about the city has, I think I'm correct, but I might be incorrect, we have one dog park in the city of Fall River. Is that true?
Yep, on Locust Street.
Locust Street,
Yep.
okay. And how's that working for the city?
I mean, we do our patrols, and I think I see dogs there. They're having so much fun running around. I know that. I don't know if every dog there is licensed.
Right, you need to be licensed.
Need to be licensed, but we do the patrols every day we drive by, and then we try to do foot patrols randomly. You know, we kind of rotate those also, and I think people love it there. I mean, we get a couple calls, things happen. You know, somebody's dog might be a little more aggressive.
Okay.
So it just, you know, it kind of depends if you're going there with intact males, and if you have a female that is in heat.
Yep, that could be a problem.
It can be a problem. So it's again, just know your animal. Your dog shouldn't be running around there if it has dominant issues and
so
stuff
true,
like that.
so true. So we have one in the city. Now, how are people doing with pooper scooping?
The dog park is actually not bad.
Not bad, okay.
I think because I see a lot of the same people in the dog park. So if anyone doesn't pick up, I'm sure the people that are there on a regular basis might pick up an extra. I know I would. I would like to think other people would do the same. But there are a couple parks in the city that I walk through, and I can't even walk around the edge of it because there's so much feces in the park.
Well, now, do our parks, our public parks, like, for example, Kennedy Park, do we have, you know, the stands that have the bags in them? Do we have that available to the public?
I believe they had them at one time, but that was through the Fall River Coalition.
Okay.
That was money that they raised, and I believe they're no longer.
That's what I've heard, no longer in existence.
Yeah,
so.
no longer.
So you have to bring your own poop bags.
Have to bring your own poop. It's your dog.
Yeah, it's
yep.
your dog.
You definitely should be able to grab that Stop and Shop bag or the little rolls.
Yeah, they're cheap enough to purchase.
Yep.
You can buy them at, you know, Ocean State Job Lot for a couple of bucks now, so it's not, you know, you may have to put two together, but you can still use them.
Yep.
And I know because where I live in, where the Highlands is, there is a place that has, I don't know who put it up, I think it was the Preservation Society, but I'm not sure. They have some bags sometimes in the springtime, but I always bring my own. And the other part of it is you need some barrels around too. Yeah. And the barrels need to be emptied, you know, and I'm not disking, you know, the city. I know they've got a lot going on, and I'm not saying animal control, but someone, if you have the barrels there, because some people don't want to carry that poop bag
They don't
going
want to
around,
carry it back,
you know.
yeah. But if there's no barrel, they should.
You should
should bring it back.
Exactly.
Yep.
And at least have something, you know, in your pocket, if you know, tissue or something just to pick it up.
Yes.
You know, but some people, they don't do that, and that's sad because it's our city. We have to have some pride in our city.
Exactly.
And I know that the mayor is going to have a cleanup day somewhere along the line, and I'm hoping.
That's great.
Yeah, I think it's great, and I hope that people get involved. I was thinking about getting involved, but the last time I went and did something for the Preservation Society, I ended up with poison sumac.
Oh my God.
Very, very bad. In the historical,
That's not good.
One of the historical diamonds, I went to clean it up, the Preservation Society, and
a very big area.
it was a very small area, and I cleaned. You know,
awful.
Bev and I cleaned the whole thing. And and I ended up poison sumac really bad.
Yeah, don't go back to that spot.
So I'm leery about going out and cleaning anything that I don't know because I'm a very highly allergic person. So I worry about if I go someplace like that, you know, someplace I don't know, even if I have gloves on. I had gloves on that day. It wasn't like I wasn't prepared. I'm a germaphobic and I don't like getting dirty to begin with.
I don't blame you.
So I had gloves and I had everything, and it was like, I still got poison sumac, and I was like mortified. I mean, I was very, very sick with it too. So a little leery about doing it. I'm thinking about going, but I'm not 100% sure that I'm going to do that.
The other part of not picking up the dog poop too is if I'm walking my dog and it poops, if my dog has any type of worm,
Sure.
the eggs are in the stool.
Exactly.
If I pick that up, I'm taking that with me and throwing it out. If I leave it there, it's going to break down. Those eggs are in the soil. Oh. And then when somebody else walks through with their dog will pick it up. Or if your kid's toys roll through them.
Yeah, there you go.
Now you're in a playground where children are playing with their toys, they're falling down, they're playing in chase, hide and seek, whatever they're doing, and they could also get exposed.
Wow.
So it does, and you know, different worms affect people different than they do animals, so definitely talk to your doctors about that stuff.
Sure,
but
sure.
it's a big, I would never want my lack, you know, just me not being responsible for my own pet to affect somebody else's pet as well as maybe their family.
Sure. And you know, talking about that, my Lola has it's a heart condition. We're not sure exactly what it is. So she can't walk a lot. So we have a little stroller for her. So we pick her up, put her down. But the stroller, like, you know, the stroller legs and the wheels and stuff. And that was scary. And when that day that we went to do where the poison sumac was, she was with us. And I had her in the stroller. Yeah. Just so she was, and then I put her out on her leash, and she was walking around a little bit. And I called the vet and like, can she get this? You know, we both ended up getting, and they're like, no, don't worry about it. She'll be fine. And I was like, I was worried, you know, as a responsible pet owner, and because I'm a little neurotic sometimes, to say the least.
Can it be carried on their coat, so maybe you didn't realize and picked her up later?
Yeah, no, they said it could be, but it wasn't on. She was okay. I was like, well, we went, and I made sure she went to the groomer right away, you know, and said, yep, this is what's going on. Yeah. So it can be scary, and people, you don't think beyond that, you know. Yes. Again, being an animal person, I immediately called people that I knew and said, what can I do, and is Lola going to be okay? Because I was, you know, I started to really break out, and then it was like I was getting nervous about it. But she, you know, she was fine. So yeah, it is difficult, and I think those are some of the things as pet owners we don't realize. We just say, oh, I don't have anything today. I won't pick it up. I'll get it tomorrow, and you forget about it. I always go this routine, and that's not good. And the good weather's coming in. Yep. People have to be more assertive and be careful and worry about, you know, the next person coming along, or even if it's a child, like you said. That's important.
It's a playground, you know, for the children of the area, and the city went through and they really redid a lot of the playgrounds. They did. Yep. And when we do our patrols, like, we kind of see it being built up, and then we see the families using it, and then when we do our foot patrol through it and we see all that, we're like, oh.
Nice.
You know, it's like, it looks great, but why would you do that to your brand new playground? It's for you, in your community. Why would you just leave it a mess for other people to deal with?
I know that's a sad thing. I don't understand when people throw trash or anything like that. But the animals, that, you know, important. You're responsible for your, you know, you're responsible for your animal. They're your child. Yep. You know, and that's how things work out. But I hope people in the city, you know, we're going to get some good weather coming up, and people can go out and enjoy it with their animals, and just be aware of what you have to do. And remember, get your dog license, and make sure you get your rabies shot.
Yes, rabies, dog license. They can always call us. Right. There's always clinics that do low-cost rabies shots. So. Yeah,
we do them now once a month. Usually the first Monday of the month at Fall River Paws. I think it's like 10 to 12 or something like that. Only 2 hours, but it's a good time. Well, you're not going to believe this, but our show is almost over, and I want to thank you very much for coming in.
Thank you.
Corinne was worried that she wouldn't have much to say, but I knew she would. And I want to thank you for your time, and thank you for coming in, being on Fall River, Animal Control, because I think you do a great job, and we love partnershiping with you.
Oh, I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Take care.